And welcome everyone to this edition of Orlando Magic Pod Squad. Dante Marchitelli, George Galante here, and this podcast is brought to you by Kia, official vehicle of the Orlando Magic. And we are pleased to be joined by none other than D Brown, 12-year NBA veteran, of course, a couple of those years right here in City Beautiful. But D, you've done so much more than playing. The NBA was just the tip of the iceberg. You've been nonstop since then. You've accomplished so much in your career, and George and I are still in the same exact capacity.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing that I've
That's not a good
done
thing.
different
That's what
things.
I'm saying.
No, you're consistent. You're where you're
Right.
supposed to be. They love you there. Well, maybe you, maybe not George, but
Yeah, right.
but like I've been in so many different roles. I went from obviously playing to coaching WNBA, coaching back then the D League, going to be assistant coaches for numerous teams. The last 5 years I've been in the front office of LA Clippers, chasing my daughter around, who's a WNBA player, so it's been fun, very, very busy, but I've enjoyed every minute of it. My 31st year in the NBA, part of professional sports. So time goes by fast, boy. And I've learned a lot, been around a lot of great people. Of course, you two guys are always very, very great to me. And we had some, great, stories and time together. So I definitely enjoyed my time with the Magic family.
Well, I remember being in Boston when we drafted this young guy out of Jacksonville University, first onto the scene, right? It was 1990.
Dante, did you know where Jacksonville University was when? I just want to make sure Dante knew where. There wasn't a lot of.
It wasn't Jacksonville State.
Right. It wasn't Jacksonville State.
Yeah.
It wasn't Jacksonville State, which I'm sure is a sore spot for a lot of you guys. In Jacksonville, right?
Yes,
but I tell you what, we didn't know a lot then. Then. You couldn't Google it. You couldn't do all that stuff. But we learned quickly. I mean, he burst onto the NBA scene there in Boston. That was so much fun for me to get to see that. And I mean, that must have been, here you are coming from Jacksonville, and then you're playing with Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish. I mean, that had to have been quite a change for you in a big city like that.
No, it was great. It was the first time I ever left home. Like really, literally, I high school in Jacksonville, college in Jacksonville, and the first time I went up, I really left and lived on my own without being an arm's distance from my family and my parents is when I got drafted by the Celtics. It was the first time I was in a snowstorm, had to deal with driving in the snow. So it's so many great memories of just, obviously you said, playing with the big three, playing in the old Boston Garden, being around Red Auerbach and all those great legends that were there almost every day at practice. I mean, there are days at practice where there'd be at least 12 Hall of Famers just sitting on the sideline watching you, like the mob. Like, you had Red Auerbach, Sam Jones, KC Jones, Sanders, Tommy Heinsohn, Bob Cousy, all those guys every day at practice watching you, on top of playing with, three of the best players ever played the game. So, it was great. I was there for 8 years, was captain for 4 of those years. So for me to even be put in that sentence of being captain of a great franchise and 17, NBA champion winner, it's just something in your career that you never forget. But again, it's just so much like it's the world's so small. The reason why I went to Jacksonville University was for 2 reasons. I wanted to stay home. I wasn't highly recruited, so I had really no offers. The other reason was because of a guy that we all know, Otis Smith. Otis was like the biggest basketball player to come out of basketball out of Jacksonville. And that was the guy I looked up to, being in Jacksonville. He went to high school there. So when Otis was in Jacksonville and I saw him was so successful, I was like, man, I want to go to JU too, because a local guy did well, and Otis was a guy that I'm still really good friends with, got a chance to know him when, obviously he worked for the Magic for a long time, played for the Magic, was GM at one point. So he's a guy that I kind of, followed for a long period of time, being like a mentor, a guy that I looked up to. So again, not a lot of people know about Jacksonville University, but, you had 2 guys that's from Jacksonville that went to Jacksonville University, myself, Otis Smith, that had some really close ties to the Orlando Magic.
No question.
What is that? It's hard enough to go from, Jacksonville University to the NBA in general, but then to go to a team that was so storied and had so many, like you said, so many Hall of Famers that had to be, who helped you through that? Or did those guys kind of bring you along? I have to imagine they were pretty set in their ways at that point.
Yeah, you remember in the 90s, the league was, the old league. In the old league, I mean, your veteran guys were 26, 27. You had obviously the big three who were like at, later stages of their career, but they were still all-stars. We were still one of the best teams in the league. But you had guys like, obviously, Jordan, Isaiah Thomas, Magic Johnson, Patrick Ewing, David Robb. Like, you had all these veteran guys who were older, established guys. So when I got there, it was a no-brainer because I was the youngest guy on the team. I was a rookie. Playing with all these superstar Hall of Fame players. They just taught me the ropes. Larry Bird was a guy that taught me how to be early, be the first one in the gym, be the hardest worker, just go out there and do your job and play at a fierceness and understand and learn the game. Kevin McHale taught me how to have fun with the game. He was the jokester of the group. He would love to tell jokes, love to do pranks on people. And Rob Parrish is like my big brother. He kind of taught me the kind of the off the court, what not to do, where not to go, who to hang out with type of person. So I had 3 veteran guys that gave me 3 different type of growth patterns. And I needed all 3. And it's very rare you get, all 3 as a rookie with the same organization without having, to trip up and fall or make a mistake and, all of a sudden learn the hard way.
It's interesting. He was friends with those 3. We're friends with Andrew Monaco, right? That's how.
And hold on, again, here's another short story. I knew Andrew Monaco when I was a head coach in San Antonio with the WNBA.
Of course, in Orlando too.
I've known.
No, he's great. You sure have.
It's crazy. Like it's the people that and you run into that still are part of the NBA and doing things. I mean, they're great people. I love Andrew's a great guy.
Yeah, no, he totally is. You're absolutely right. I got to know this. So there's so many Larry Bird stories that are out there, D. What are your go-to ones? What are some of your favorite Larry Bird stories that you can tell?
I've got so many of them. I'm sure a lot of people have heard a lot of the trash talking stories.
Right.
I think the best one that I can say without it, for all listeners on the air, that's really good. Is we're playing in the playoffs. It is my rookie year, and we're playing against Detroit Pistons. At the time, the Bad Boys, they still were the champions. They were the 2-time defending champions, and we had a really good team. Like we're, at All-Star break, we had the best record in the league. So our coaching staff, the year I won the slam dunk contest, our coaching staff was All-Star coaches. So we were like one of the best teams. We had a chance to win a championship that year, and I was a rookie playing on this team. I had got back into the starting lineup as the year went on. So my first series was against Indiana Pacers, growing experience. I learned. The second round was against the Pistons, the Bad Boys. And I just remember the first 3 games of the series, I was practically wide open the whole game. I would throw the ball to Larry, they'll go double. Isaiah Thomas will go double. I'll throw the ball to Reggie Lewis, they'll go double. I was averaging like 18 points a game my rookie year against the world champions. So I remember this game. So Larry wasn't getting upset because Larry's a competitor. So I'm open the whole time. So Larry said, D, this is what I need you to do. We're sitting in the huddle. This is during the playoffs. D, this is what I need you to do. I need you to go tell Isaiah Thomas to stop doubling me when you pass the ball. Oh, okay, yeah, that's great. I'll laugh. No, he goes, D, I'm serious. He takes my hand, walks me to their huddle. Their huddle. Chuck Daly's the coach.
Right.
We all know Chuck and love Chuck. Rest his soul. He's a great man. Chuck Daly's the coach. He walked to the huddle. He goes, D, tell Isaiah what I just told you. He goes, you're serious? I go, Isaiah, Larry told me to tell you to stop doubling him because he wants to get some shots too. The whole bench started laughing. They cracked up.
My
this is the middle of the playoff series. The Bad Boys, they're laughing.
Yeah,
about
right.
They're trying to knock your teeth out.
Right.
So
Sure.
Dumar's laughing, Robin's laughing, John Sad's laughing, Bill Lambert's laughing. I think Chuck Daly rolled on the floor. He laughed so hard because you got this rookie going to Isaiah Thomas saying this was, and Larry, they got a kick out of it because I was a rookie.
Awesome.
So I'm like, I'm nervous as heck in the game, period. I'm just trying to make sure I don't make a mistake. He tells me to go tell Isaiah Thomas that he wants some shots too. Stop doubling me.
That's
like, that was
fantastic.
classic Larry. That was classic Larry. Like he was, you know, he had some great lines. I've heard him tell people on the floor, but that was one that, particularly for me, I was like, are you serious? Right. You really serious?
That's
So,
fantastic.
yeah,
That's fantastic.
yeah.
I remember
wonder if
Nick
he's
saying, Nick started the first time he played Larry. He remembers Larry saying, "Hey, nice to meet you." He goes, "Congrats." He goes, "I guess you'll be guarding me tonight." He goes, "Your mom's not watching tonight." Like, would you hear that? Would he say? I mean, he would just he'd trash talk the whole time, right? That's great.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've seen him say things, and listen, he wasn't a cursor. Like he didn't curse at players. He just talked trash. Like,
Did that make
I
it
remember
better?
him.
Did that make it more effective that he wasn't even cursing at you?
Yeah.
Yes.
So-
I think that's what. Yeah, like he didn't have to scream and use profanities. He just said things that you would think a player would say to another pro. Like I'm out here just like you, but I know you're Larry Bird, but he would say things that get you like, this dude's a real deal. Like, hey, you can't have another white guy guard. I mean, you crazy? I'm the baddest white guy on the planet. You better put a brother on me. Like, really? He told that to a bench one time. He said, you got this white guy on me? I'm the baddest white guy on the planet. You better put a brother on me. I was like, wow. And guess what? They did. They put a brother on him because he was killing whoever, I forgot who it was, but he was killing whoever was guarding him at that time. So those kind of things, like,
that's
it's amazing.
fantastic.
And he was great. Like he was unbelievable guy to play with. I learned so much from playing with a guy like that. Listen, I've heard some trash talkers in my day between him and, Reggie Miller and, Gary Payton, who was my draft class, but he topped it all just because of the level he was at, and he never stopped.
That's amazing. That 1991 slam dunk contest, D, could you have imagined what that would have done for you? Really? I mean, I know you went into it excited and you stole the show. You're going against the Rain Man. You did the Reebok pumps. I mean, everything that came out of that. Could you have imagined what would come out of that for you?
Oh, no, because that was 30 years ago. And, the shoe that I wore during the contest just came back out, sold out in like 30 minutes. Yeah, really? Sold out in 30 minutes. Yeah, like you can't get them anywhere. So 30 years later, you still talk about pumping up the shoes, the no-look dunk. It's amazing that that image is iconic. We still talk about it. I could be anywhere, and people, bend down. They can have penny loafers on. They're bend down and pump those up. Yeah. Just because of the action, they don't have to Reebok pumps on. They just want to show that motion that I did, and it makes you feel good, like you did something that was lasting. I get, people will see me and like, man, I remember that, and I want to go out and buy a pair of Reebok pumps. I thought it would help me dunk higher and jump higher and do dunks. And I tried this dunk. And, you have these not younger NBA guys, but guys who are like the veteran guys that kind of grew up watching you play that still talk about that. Man, I remember trying to dunk when I was younger, and I couldn't do it on a 10-foot basket. So it's great. Like I never thought that we would still be talking about that 30 years later when I got into that contest and what I did, because it was so spontaneous. And it was great. And, now generational wise, like my daughter, Lexi, who plays in the WNBA, signed a Reebok contract, so she's a Reebok athlete and she'll wear the shoes. Not, she'll have her own custom shoe during the season, maybe not the pumps, because she wore them the other day when she was working. I said, dang, Dad, these are heavy. I don't know how you. She goes, I don't know how you playing these shoes. These things are heavy compared to the shoes that people are playing now. So it was funny, but she's like, oh no, I'm gonna play in them, but man, these are a lot heavier than the shoes I remember playing in. So it was just funny. Yeah.
I was in high school, George. I was in high school. I had my D Brown shirt on, and he's doing this, right? And I did a signing with Robert Parrish. And I sat down next to him. I'm scared out of my mind. I'm about to meet the chief, right? I sit down there. He never looked at me. He never moved his mouth. He said, I told him to do that dunk.
He's lying. He's lying. Hold on. I'm gonna tell you something funny about that. I just talked to Robert 2 days ago. I just talked to Robert, and this was the first thing he says. You still living off that 91? Like, because I'm like, dude, this is the first thing he's gonna say to me, like, hey D, how you doing? You still living off that 91? Great. I'm like, oh my goodness, dude, you ain't changed in 30 years. Like, really.
Still the same.
Chief. Still the same.
That's
Chief.
fantastic. That's great.
So how spontaneous was that though, D? Like, did you just come up with that on the spot, or was that a conversation that you had with somebody? You know, because we've been now privy to a couple of guys that have been in the dunk contest, and they practice this, they practice that.
Right.
What I'm going to do here. Tell us. Go back in time. Was that something you had talked with those, you know, maybe even the Reebok people about, or did you just, you know, you just decided this is what I'm going to do?
The Reebok people didn't have a clue I was going to pump my shoes out. I had one conversation with my, you know, every person has like a person, they're a person with a shoe company. And lady name was Joanne Borzakian. She was a Reebok, you know, basically my marketing representative. And we talked about it. Like, I don't know if I want to do this. It might, I got to get the crowd behind me. She's like, once you do it, you know, we won't say anything to anybody. You know, I was like, So I went back and forth. I really wasn't going to do it. And then once I got there, and the crowd was there, I said, I got to do something really to hype the crowd up. And the Reebok people had no clue. Like the higher ups, no clue. Just me and her knew I was going to do that. As far as the dunk, you know, back then you had to have a lot of dunks. So I had a lot of dunks in my repertoire. You had to have like 8 dunks to win. The no look, I never did that dunk. I had to make it up. The reason why I had to make it up at that time, you couldn't, in the contest back then, you couldn't use props.
Right.
So we couldn't jump over people. You couldn't jump over chairs. You couldn't pull
Cars.
cars out there, and you can have things in your hand. So initially, if you look back, I got an old video on my Instagram showing me practice dunk where basically I was going to have a Reebok hat on, jump, tip the hat to the crowd, and then do like a windmill. So do something with a hat. So once they told me, so I'm sitting there with the hat. They go, "Hey, you can't have props." Oh my goodness! Like,
what am I going?
Oh, I got to bring another dunk. And I wanted to do a signature dunk. You know, I remember the dunk contest watching when I was younger. You had the Michael Jordan free throw line, the Dominique windmill, you know, that people remember. So I said, I got to do something that nobody's ever done before, and people will remember me by. So this is all happening between sitting on that box, getting the ball, and running to the basket. Okay, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I could do it between my legs, but I wasn't really confident enough to do it. I never really practiced it. So I'll jump, and I said, you know what, I'm just gonna close my eyes. And I said, I don't know if this is all going on in a 5-second span.
Got to be kidding.
That's a lot.
Like all this is going on. Like I'm processing like a computer, all these different things I'm gonna do while I'm running from the box with the ball to the basket. So I'm gonna close my eyes. And I said, nobody's gonna see, my eyes are closed, so I'm gonna put my hand. So basically it turned from closing my eyes to put my hand to just, you know, automatically my arms just kept moving. That I wanted to make sure nobody knew that I saw the basket. So that's how the dunk became.
That's crazy.
You never tried that before? You never did that before?
Never did it before. I had never had a clue. Never had a clue that dunk. I made it up right on the spot. I'm glad I made it. You know.
Yes, right.
Talk about remember that kid D Brown that hit the side of the backboard? You know, because he missed it. You know, like.
Well, wasn't it your guy Otis? Didn't he lay it in during the dunk contest?
Yeah,
no, that was Daryl. That was Daryl.
No, that was Daryl.
That was Daryl.
Like the layup contest.
Daryl made a sweet layup in the dunk contest.
I remember that. I killed him on that one too. I was like, dude, what are you doing?
What are you doing out there?
Did your Reebok rep get promoted? Did she get promoted?
I would think so.
Yeah, she was like, she became like one of the first females vice president of Reebok. Like,
yeah,
and she was there for a long time, and she was great. And, I still talk to her. Like, we're still close friends. She's close friends with the family. She's like, you know, like a sister to me. So, you know, that was something you know.
I'm sure you heard from a lot of higher ups at that point. After.
I'll talk to everybody.
I'm sure. Joe Reebok is calling every other day. Hey, Joe Reebok, how's it going?
Yeah. Now, the crazy part is I already had a Reebok contract, but listen, 30 years later.
Lifetime?
Lifetime deal. Lifetime deal. Kind of like George and I have with Hostess cupcakes.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, D. So then you go back to the All-Star game this past week or this year, right? A couple of months ago. And how cool was that? Being in Atlanta, you're a judge. You're there with Dominique Wilkins, Spud Webb, other former winners, right? So with the Atlanta ties, that must have been different without all the fans in there and all the usual fanfare, but it still must have been cool for you.
It was great. It was the third time I judged a dunk contest. The first time it was funny. The first time I judged a dunk contest, it was in Atlanta, and I was working for the Magic, because I remember I was in the front office, and it was, to me, that panel was the best panel I've ever been on. It was me, Julius Ervin, Dominique, Spud, and Jordan.
Wow.
That was the
That's
judges.
pretty good.
That's a pretty good.
five.
I mean,
That's
it
a
was
pretty good
those
five.
4 guys and me.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a pretty
You're right.
five. Charlotte was a few years ago, and I was there because that's where I won the dunk contest at.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why I was at Charlotte, and that was a good one too as well. But the recent one in Atlanta, again, the atmosphere was different. We wasn't on the floor, like we were up in the stands because of obviously the COVID
Well,
and being around on the
I
players.
was
So
texting
our
you
angles
'cause
were bad.
Yeah. I thought I was going to see you because I was there with Nikola Vucevic, and I said,
Yeah, right.
I'll see you tomorrow. And I
Yeah.
didn't realize that I wasn't going to see you tomorrow.
Me neither.
You were on a platform somewhere,
Right.
and
Well,
I
at least for the contest. I mean, we had COVID tests, we had all this stuff, so we're there
sure.
because
Sure.
we got cleared. Obviously with all the COVID testing. So I thought you got to put this judges, pull a table and put the judges on the floor so we can get a better view. So judging it was a little different because a lot of our initial views came off the monitor. So because we couldn't really get a good look at it because the angles were bad. We're basically behind the basket. So people are like, oh man, that Cassius Stanley dunk, you missed what he did. I go, no, we saw it, but it was on the video. Like we were watching the same replays as everybody else was watching. So, and it was so quick. It was halftime. It was 3 players. You didn't get the commentary.
Right.
Listen, it was great. It was fun being there, being a part of the All-Star event. But again, it was different. But again, just to be a judge and people like, hey, come and judge it. It's always a great honor. Always a great honor.
D, I think about, we got the women's NCAA tournament going. We got the men as well, which that was a foul last night, by the way.
It was a foul. It
right?
was a foul. No question, it was a foul.
Jeez.
Carrington should be at the free throw line. But you've been an advocate for female athletes for years, really for a couple of decades. You've been coaching in the, in the WNBA. Your daughter now plays in the WNBA, female AAU teams, right? I mean, just how impressed are you, by the female athlete overall, how hard they work, and now are we starting to get there? Are they starting to get the recognition they deserve?
Yeah, I think the growth has been unbelievable. And listen, the best coaching job I've ever had was coaching the women's WNBA team. It was Orlando Miracle in Orlando. It was the first coach job I ever had. It was unbelievable. I learned so much, and that gave me the passion to teach. I love to teach, and just to watch the growth of just the different sports in women's sports, and then now all of a sudden, they're on, see the games on TV all the time. Just obviously all the social media presence that all these women have. The voices, my daughter was really big with everything going on in her bubble. They wobble. They had down in the IMG,
right?
With Breonna Taylor and Say My Name campaign, all that stuff. She's really big on that. My daughter, she's grown up to be an advocate for a lot of things, and she's got her own voice, and I'm proud of her for that. And just to see the different people, to see people like Candace Parker, be on TV and chop it up with the NBA players, and really, really good. She's really good at it.
Very good.
That kind of thing to me is the growth. I hate performative stuff. Hey, just throw a female a bone here, bone there. I think you see the growth in industries. So those kind of things to me is important. Real change, not, hey, we're going to, throw you on a commercial here and, you could be in the background. You're really leading the way on a lot of social issues, be able to have a voice where you can kind of express what you want to say about sports, about politics, whatever it is. I've seen it grow, and to see all these NBA players and other players watching games and having input, to feel like LeBron James tweet, that was a foul,
Yes,
or,
right.
Or Renee Montgomery, all of a sudden going from player to owner of a WNBA team. Like, to me, that's true progress, when all of a sudden you have a vested interest in something that you helped build.
Have you ever thought about jumping back into the WNBA, D? I mean, you were so heavily involved
years
ago, and then now obviously with Lexi there, and I don't know if there are any other Browns going to be coming down soon, because I know they're all involved with something. But
yes, they are.
Have you thought about that at all?
I thought about it a little bit. I think the only reason why is because I definitely want to give Lexi her space. I don't want to be involved.
You don't want to go coach the Lynx?
No. And I've thought about it because I enjoy it so much. I've had opportunities to maybe join, front office positions in WNBA, and I just kind of wanted to keep that separate from like what Lexi was doing. That's more than anything, not because of the lack of passion, or just the much love I have for the WNBA and all their players. I enjoy the game as much as any game to watch or to be involved with. I don't think there's like my daughter, who's a freshman who plays basketball at William and Mary. I don't think she wants to play the next level. I think she's kind of, I don't think I want to play dad. I see how much work Lexi got to do. That's too hard.
Yeah, right.
But she's smart. She's at William and Mary.
Yeah.
She's like very, very smart. So she understands where she wants to be. So listen, wherever she wants to do, I'm gonna support her 100%. So, but I'm just happy that, the family's just part of sports. Sports is such a bridge and a gap to so many things and conversations. I always tell my daughters, I tell my son this, my youngest son, Anakin, who's a 9th grader now, like, hey, one thing I know with sports, and a lot of sports is basketball, especially, it's colorblind and gender free. Like you can, but the ball doesn't care if you're a woman, if you're a boy or a girl, whatever you are. If you take care of the game, it'll take care of you. And I think that's something I've always prided myself on, telling my kids or just kids around the world who want to play a sport. Sports is always that connector to people, where we just kind of put our differences aside and want to love, help, and compete against each other.
That's a great point. You think about the people you met in your life, D, right? Because of an Orange basketball.
Yes.
Does that surprise you? I mean, I've
been to 20 countries because of basketball. I've spoken Asia, Australia, Tokyo. I've played games in London. I've played games in played in obviously in Toronto. Obviously, being part of the Toronto Raptors. I've been to Mexico and I've been so many places because of around basketball, because of Orange Ball that gave me an opportunity to talk, showcase my skills, educate people, see different parts of the world. I went to the Philippines, and it's funny. It's 3 things like there's big in Philippines: boxing, music, and basketball. And it's not really in that order. Like basketball is almost number 1. I mean, you look at Pacquiao. Pacquiao loves to play basketball.
Yeah, true. Right.
And I went over there. They told me in the Philippines, there's more basketball hoops in the Philippines per square mile than any place in the world.
Wow.
It's crazy. There's a basketball hoop everywhere in the Philippines. So for me to go over there and see all these kids playing basketball, because they love it, and me to be able to talk to them and do a camp over there, there's nothing you can say that basketball hasn't given me and my family that I'm not truly appreciative of.
I think about this. I got Georgia's got a daughter. I got 2 daughters, right? My daughters are 6 and 7, and I coached them. They started play basketball for the first time, and kid doesn't pass it to her, and I'm angry, and I'm like, and I'm protective, and I'll take the kid out. If he doesn't want, I'll take him out. Does that ever go away? Lexi's 26 in her 3rd season in the WNBA. Does that go away? How do you watch the game when your kids are?
I'll try to watch it as a dad. Like I kind of once I stopped coaching her when she was probably 12, 13 years old, I said, listen, I will still train you. We'll get work off the court. That's something I know I can keep doing and train you, because there's no minutes, there's no playing time. I'm not worrying about, the wins and losses. I'm worried about you getting better. So we can translate that onto the court. And I've made a promise to her. I said, once I'm done coaching you, I'm gonna come to the game as a dad. I'm gonna support you. I'm gonna yell at her. But after the game, it's different. I'm gonna tell you the truth. Now the coaching hat goes back on.
There you
go. Tell you exactly what happened. And we're gonna look at film. We're gonna break it down. And I did that when she was at Maryland. I did that when she was at Duke, when she transferred to Duke. And then obviously her in the WNBA, you know, I just want to go to the games and let her know I support her as a dad. Not that I'm not taking any notes and I'm not writing stuff down in my phone and saying, hey, you know, after the game. But I understood as a player, like, listen, my dad was, you know, he didn't play college basketball. He played basketball. You know, he didn't go to the pros. But when I played, even as an NBA player, my dad would still call me like, hey, I saw the game. Why didn't you do X, Y, and Z? I'm like, man, like I'm 30 years old. You still talk about the game like this? So I appreciate that part.
Sure.
That hopefully I can give that same respect and courtesy to my kids, you know, when I'm not coaching them.
Just know your kids are saying that too behind your back too. When now
I know exactly. I hope they
man.
don't watch the game. But you come to the game, I'm like, nope, like good. Like I'm like, oh, really?
Really, you don't want your dad?
Yeah. Like it's amazing because, you know, when Kobe passed away and got in that horrendous accident with the other people and his daughter, I felt a hole in my heart because I went through the girl dad thing with what he was starting to do with Gigi.
Yep.
And the part that made me so sad, I know the ups and downs, the great feelings you have being in the gym, seeing the progress, seeing him go to high school, seeing him go to college, you know, getting drafted in the WNBA. You know, we're obviously a father-daughter duo that was, you know, not too many people had a first-round pick in the NBA and a first-round pick in the WNBA. Like all that stuff,
Yep.
they're not gonna get a chance to do, and that hurt. That part hurt me. Other than the other people that also was in the crash as well, but just knowing that part of my life I enjoyed so much, and he was another big supporter of women's basketball and WNBA and went to the games, you know. So I cherish these moments with Lexi and my other daughter because, you know, again, you know, you just never know, and I appreciate it more and more every day. That's why I try to be a girl dad more than coach dad as much as I can right now.
I love that. Having two daughters, you know you're a girl dad, but when now you start seeing that, seeing that, it has so much meaning. It's fantastic. D, I got to ask you about your time in Orlando. I know it meant a lot to you. Jacksonville, being from Florida, and getting to play for the Orlando Magic. Well, when that all came full circle for you, how special was that, and how much did you enjoy your time here?
It was amazing. You know, I got hurt the last day of training camp my first year. I was having a great training camp. The funny story about that was, I'll tell you two stories. The first story about that, me getting hurt in training camp, was it was in Jacksonville. We had training camp in Jacksonville.
Yep.
And it was the first time my parents ever seen me play in a scrimmage with the NBA team. And they were at that open scrimmage when I tore my knee. Oh. So the first time they ever see me like in a practice with the NBA team, they came to games obviously, but they never saw me like in a practice with the players around, interaction. Hey, meet my dad, my mom, going up to block Daryl Armstrong's shot, and I tore my patella tendon right off the bone.
You know, it was brutal too. Like you had you were having a great camp too.
Great camp. I was so excited to be home. I was killing it, and it hurt me. I mean, it really hurt me to not be able to play that season. I came back in the playoffs, obviously. Right. And had a couple good games.
You did,
Milwaukee Bucks. But I missed that part next year. Didn't play a ton. It was funny. I remember that season. After I left, I signed a 10-day. I was in the front office. I remember I was in my office.
Yes.
Remember this, George?
Yeah.
I was in my office, and Doc was like, "Man, we're all hurt. Everybody's hurt." Because of a knocks on my door. Hey, you still know all the plays? You're in shape, right? I go, yeah, of course I do. You want to sign 10-day? I go, what?
That's how that went.
10 days. I signed 2 10 days. Everybody got healthy. I went back to the front office.
Yeah.
I remember that. That's how that went down. That's how.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Everybody was hurt, and the doc was like, "Listen, why would I sign somebody outside? I got a guy that just retired 2 months ago, 3 months ago.
Right.
You know, he's a veteran. I know him. He knows us. He works down the hall for me.
Right.
You know, if he doesn't play, he don't care. So hey,
that's
want to make some extra
right?
money? Sure.
I
think that next year they changed the rule. They changed the rule that if you kind of retire you couldn't come back and play. So
Jeez,
I remember that. I think that the other funny thing, I remember that year when I signed with the Magic, it was home. You know, I was living in Orlando, and I remember the press conference when Grant and Tracy had signed. So it was, you know, big, huge press conference. You got these two huge free agents. And I remember the headline in the Orlando Sentinel. Magic signs 3 players to $200 million. I'm going, well, wait a minute. Grant made 98 and Tracy made 98. Like, this thing gets split 3 ways. Like, don't put 2 players signed for 200 million and D got some money on the side. Like, I remember the headline. I'm like, wait a minute. These 3 players are now signed $200 million. This is not a 3-way split.
That's
so fantastic. I remember that. I laughed. And I told John Gable about that. I said, you know, I want my cut. Like, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
The game was great. Yeah. So it was, I remember that headline like it was yesterday.
But you were really important to us though, D, like not only on the court, but like you had a relationship with Tracy.
Yes, right.
That I know that not only did the coaches rely on, I mean, I know I relied on it sometimes too. Like if I needed to get Tracy to do something, and like maybe I wasn't having so much success, I would kind of go to you and be like, "Hey, help me out, D. Like you got to tell me what to do here with Tracy."
Yeah, I knew Tracy. Obviously I played with him when I got traded from the Celtics to Toronto. Tracy was a rookie, so he was young. He's a Florida kid, so he kind of like, wow, you know, we got a chance, you know, to build a really good relationship, and he looked up to me as certain things where I helped him kind of grow into his role, understanding some of the things I learned from being with the Celtics as a rookie, kind of like, hey, just, you know, stay the course. You know, you're young. You're going to be a pretty good player.
Way to go, Captain Obvious.
There you go. You nailed it.
And it again, it built. And when, you know, he left, you know, and made a decision, say he wanted his own team, because obviously him and Vince were the 1-2 combination in Toronto while we were up there. He wanted his own team. He said, D, you know, man, once you come back home too, like I was a free agent, first time ever in my career as a free agent. Doc was a guy that I admired. He said, I need veteran guys as well. And obviously being there, you know, not just on the court stuff, like George, you said, like, you know, I was the more the pride for me was being a veteran guy in the leadership in the locker room, along with at that time, Darryl Armstrong and Bo Outlaw, all those guys from a hard and hustle team, just to be in there and just kind of be just another veteran voice in that locker room when Tracy and Grant came. Obviously Grant, you know, he didn't play that year, but you know, I just really took pride in being that when I got back home to play in Orlando.
Is that role more important now than it's ever been in the NBA with all these young guys coming in? The good veterans with the right advice.
I mean, I'll give you one example. Udonis Haslem. He's been in the league for like 75 years. Like, that dude,
but they beg him to come back every year.
They beg him to come back because he brings. There's certain things that veterans do that been there, done that coaches love, because you know they can't fight every fight. They can't put out every fire. Right. You need that veteran guy that has, you know, quote unquote OG status, that can say something to these young guys who get all the accolades, who take all the shots, who make a lot of the money. That let them know the truth about what's going on and how the players feel, your role and responsibility in the locker room, in the community, whatever it is. Those guys are very important because the league is young. Like your superstar guys are 19, 20, 21 years old. You need those veteran guys that really can talk to these guys, you know, spend time with them off the court where you don't feel like it's an assistant coach or player development guy that you spend time with on the court. But you do have a relationship with those guys, but you need those veteran guys that, you know, will tell you the truth and not hold back because it's for not personal reasons, not because you're a coach, because it's the betterment of the growth of yourself as a young player, and you've earned that respect.
Well, that's great insight, D. We could do this for another 2 or 3 hours, but I'm going to be mindful of your time. I really appreciate it. It's always great.
He's got nothing to do. Let's keep him on for another 2.
Yeah, you're right.
I know that's not true. This guy does everything. He's got all his.
I try to stay busy. One thing I haven't done is play golf. I haven't played golf in so long, but I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna start doing that again. I was down to like almost a single-digit handicap, and then I got
Wow.
into the NBA front office and no time. Like
Now
it
No
was
it's
time,
crazy.
exactly. I
Yeah,
thought,
so
okay,
no
well, the
time.
one thing, at least we're broadcasters, we got that
Yes.
on him. He won the he won the tournament to win the broadcaster challenge. And then he
Yes,
gets a
I know.
career at ESPN. He's done that too. He's done everything.
Exactly. I'm trying to do
Leave something for
everything.
the rest of us, man.
Leave
Leave
Oh,
something for the rest of
whatever.
us.
Whatever.
Well, let us know when you want to. Let us know when you want to golf. Nothing will
All
make
right,
you
I
feel.
will.
Nothing will make you feel better about your game than playing with us.
No,
There's no doubt about
no
that.
question.
That's right.
No doubt
All
about
right.
that.
All right, appreciate it, D. As always, this podcast brought to you by Kia, official vehicle of the Orlando Magic.